I didn't have any aspirations to create anything particular. I was just doing it for the sake of doing it, more as an experiment to see that I could even do this, build this stuff and make sounds that I thought were worthwhile. And then with some friends, I got together and decided to do a solo show based around these machines that I'd built and tape experiments, just to see what I could do in a live situation, sort of improvise. And that's how that came about. I had no musical training at all, and what I was doing was just literally just experiments with sounds, and I wasn't aiming to make any sort of musical sort of attempt at doing music or songs or anything like that. By the time I joined TG, at the very beginning, for the first few months, almost everything I had except tape machines, everything else was stuff I'd made myself, effects pedals. I really got into the whole DIY thing. Like, I'd subscribed to these magazines, electronics magazine, and there was one called Practical Electronics, and they published every month different circuits, and they always had a music-related circuit each month. And one month they had this guitar, it was just called the guitar effects pedal, and it was an LFO, a VCA, and a VCF on a circuit board. And I thought, okay, yeah, we can use this. So I remodeled it and readjusted the circuit slightly and added some extras and modified it. And I put them in these little units with the controls on the front, and you could switch the VCA or the VCF on and off and change the speed. And that was the gristleizer. I mean, that whole modular thing, that followed through to all of us, because Jen had a little synth I'd made him, and he put that through different effects modules that I'd made, and Cosey the same. She had a load of effects pedals that I'd made her that she put a guitar through, and then I built Sleazy a little tape player unit, like a mini Mellotron that he put through his gristleizer. So everything was very modular. Throbbing Gristle has a very eclectic taste amongst the four of us. We were all into completely different things. The others weren't into prog rock or Tangerine Dream or even electronic music as such. On things like Hot on the Hills of Love, that had sequencers and drum machines in, it was just, me stamping my taste on those tracks. Why don't we try this? Because we'd always be trying out different ideas, different techniques, and none of us could really play anything. We were all making it up as we went along, so we thought, okay, why don't we try something in this style? So I'd switch all my sequencers on or drum machines, and we'd start jamming along with it, and then that song came out. It was very, very temperamental, the gear. It really was. All of it, everything we had. And so much so that at the beginning of TG, we insisted that we played first, even if we were headlining, because when we did the sound check, because if you sound check last. If we managed to get everything working, we would tell the promoter, okay, we're going to go on first and we're going to play because everything's working, and we daren't move it after sound check. So yeah, that happened quite a lot. There was a lot of animosity towards synth players in those days, from punks particularly. We were just button pushers, and it wasn't real music because they thought it was just, you could just push a button and make a noise and that was it, They didn't realise how much effort actually went into it, especially mine, because I made it myself, and you had to patch it and everything, and there's a bit of effort there. It's not just pushing a button. So there was some animosity, and people used to throw things at it. You'd turn up at a punk venue, and punks would be there expecting a punk show, because even the name sounds punk, but they'd come to a Throbbing Gristle show and they'd get something completely different. They'd be scratching their heads or throwing things at us, thinking, when's the real music going to come on? After a couple of years, I stopped using my modular system because I was worried about it getting damaged, and you know, having to keep rebuilding it because of transporting it around the country, it kept going wrong. So then I thought, okay, I could buy some off-the-shelf synths that are replaceable, because the modular I'd made, it wasn't replaceable. I mean, it was, but it would take months to rebuild it if, you know, someone threw a bottle at it, which happened a few times. The end of Throbbing Gristle and Chris Cosey sort of overlapped. We were in America doing the final 2 shows in San Francisco and Los Angeles when we decided to split up. Well, I decided to leave the band, and which made the band split up. And Cosey and I had been recording basic ideas for what, you know, we had this idea of doing a duo post TG. So we'd started recording some stuff at the Industrial Record Studio in Hackney before those 2 final shows in America. And then we recorded some stuff in America. And then we came back, TG split, and then we went straight in the studio. In fact, we were in the studio across the road from our publishers. We went to our TG publishers one day to sort of sign off on TG, that was finished. And then there was a studio across the road from that. And we went straight in that studio and started recording Chris and Cosey stuff. I bought some different keyboards and I started building up my modular system from then. Bought another couple of racks for it. And by then I'd had my TR-808. I think it was the first one in the country, because the shop where I got it was above the studio. So that was really handy. Then the early 90s, things started to change quite a lot, especially after the D50 came out and the DX7, all that started to happen. It did take a back seat in the 90s. It really did. And every now and again I'd rediscover it and we'd, you know, use it a little bit, but it wasn't used as much as it was in the 70s and the 80s, not nearly as much. And then we started going over to MIDI. It's when MIDI came in really that it really started to change. By the end of the 90s, it started to go wrong, the modular system, and it was getting really expensive to keep it ticking over. The modules that I'd made myself, I could fix those and that was okay. But the Roland modules, that I didn't really want to get into trying to fix them. Took them to specialist dealers to get them fixed, and it was getting really pricey. So I had this sort of weird midlife crisis in sort of 99, 2000, and I just sold everything. This whole studio was just empty. To my biggest regret ever. It was awful. It was like, what the fuck did you do that for? You know, why? I was so miserable. And then I started looking into buying it back again. And it was like, you know, twice as much I'd have to pay to buy it all back again. It's a funny thing to do, really, working on a computer, on a screen all the time, and, you know, doing everything. I mean, we had like a MIDI keyboard to play stuff, but it's an acquired taste, I think. Because we didn't have the money to go out and buy all that stuff back again, we had to carry on. You know, we'd gone down this path, we had to carry on and do it. So you make the best of what you've got. So I went mad buying plugins, you know, endlessly, and trying to recreate sounds that we had before. But, you know, no matter what people say, a plug-in Moog is not the same as a real, you know, Moog. It's definitely not. And then I discovered Eurorack, and I thought, okay. This is like we used to work in TG, where we have effects pedals and drum machines and outboard that become part of the modular system. They in effect are modules for this, and it's all interconnected. And I don't care whether it's a module up there or a module down here. It's all, you know, that's my modular system. I'm not a purist where it's all got to be just in one rack and I can only do this. You know, anything that will plug into a jack socket is part of my modular system. Anything. The modules now are just stellar. I mean, the modules that you never even think of. It doesn't have to hark back to that old terminology, technology, any of that. And I'm not like an analog purist. I'm quite happy to use digital modules. You can have modules that sample and you can manipulate those sounds. You have oscillators that just aren't regular oscillators, they have wavetables and all that stuff. Filters that just do, you know, mad things, crazy things. And combining all those together, you get this whole new sound completely new sounds that you couldn't even imagine, before. It's like this homeopathic sort of thing that you've got going on. But, you can have all these mixtures of manufacturers and designs, and the slightest thing that you do on one can have the greatest effect on something else further along in that chain of modules. It's amazing, it really is.